You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. It's 7:01 p.m. on election night 2025. And it's good to have you on for a Tuesday night excursion. One that we've been doing for many, many years. And we continue on tonight through thick and thin. It's getting a little thick right now. But you know how it goes. We're going to be checking in on some things. In the second half, we'll do a little bit more of a roundup, what's going on with the polls as that they'll be starting to get close to closing on the East Coast and, races of interest and all that other stuff. It's not just the races. It's all of the issues that people are voting on in their respective states. So we'll check in on that. I have some other things going on. In the second, I also have a lot of reels I just want to watch. I want to let loose a little bit. But in the first half, we're going to have Timothy Alberino joining us. We haven't talked to him in a while. And I just want to hear what he has to say about all of these government figureheads, both from the vice president down to Representative Luna, who have addressed UAP, non-human entity kind of subjects as of late. And Representative Luna in particular brought up the book of Enoch. So we started talking about Enoch and advanced technologies given to humans by non-human entities. And I'm just like, okay, well, this is all good timing because we need a little check-in with our buddy Timothy. And hopefully that'll be as good as it always is. And then in the second half, I want to just let loose with you guys. I want to do a little ranting, a little laughing, whatever the hell. I got a lot of reels that you guys have sent in to me. Some I've put aside myself, and so we'll see how that goes. Well, other than that, we have the former Vice President Dick Cheney is dead. And what are you going to say? I'm not the one. Obviously, there's going to be, when somebody like this dies, there's going to be a lot of neocons paying their respects. There's going to be a lot of people on the outside in different factions, both left and right, who are just dancing on his grave. And I just hope that the man had spent some time repenting. I need to repent. But, and I know that one sin is just as deadly as the others, but I don't have million civilian death wars on my resume. And I don't know. Things like this is just, you look at it, you go, okay, well, let's see if it's at the end is it the end of Ghost right now for Dick Cheney? Is Dick Cheney hanging out with Willie Lopez right now, or did he have time to get his shit in order? You don't know. But left behind a trail of destruction. A lot of people in that network have, and I'm sure we'll be saying the same thing over and over again in the coming decades. But still, also we have in New York, what was this, yesterday? Somewhat of an admission of all types of deadly guilt. Is it guilt? I don't know. I think that Cuomo's just running anything he can up the flagpole at this point. Election Wizard shared this 1-minute clip from Fox News last night. Or was it this morning? Might be this morning. Andrew Cuomo apologizes for nursing home deaths during COVID and begs Republicans for votes in New York City mayor race.
Nobody knew what we were dealing with. I had the best health experts from around the globe giving us advice.
Nobody knew what we were dealing with. Yeah. I think we knew pretty early on. Okay, maybe you were a little bit too distracted with all the nipple twisting you were doing, but yeah, fuck him.
Followed the best advice. We followed the federal guidance, and people died in a horrific way.
I know.
There were no visitors allowed into nursing homes. And I apologize for any family that lost a loved one during that time. It was on my watch. And I understand how...
We saw the emails. This was being handled politically. It was being handled politically. And it's just awful. Awful that people have been left with no choice other than this guy, Mamdani, because, if I had a vote, I'd be voting Sliwa the whole way if I was going to vote at all, just because screw this guy and screw them all. And people who are pragmatic about the chances of him winning versus Sliwa, if you're being totally pragmatic about it, which, I got quite a few people got in touch with me who said, did you see President Trump's endorsement of him? It wasn't glowing. Donald Trump's endorsement of Cuomo really wasn't glowing. He's just seeing things the way that we all are. I would much rather see a Democrat who has had a record of success win than a communist with no experience, he said. He has nothing. He's done nothing as an assemblyman, ranked at the bottom of his class as a mayor, potentially again the greatest city in the world. He has no chance to bring it back to its former glory. A vote for Curtis Sliwa, who looks much better without the beret, is a vote for Mamdani. Whether you personally like Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope that he does a fantastic job. He's capable of it. Mamdani is not. Ugh. Listen, it's going to be the socialist swindler. I don't see it any other way. I think it's going to be the socialist swindler. Here is Kevin O'Leary putting it into perspective. And like I said, we'll have updates on this in the second half once we are finished hanging out with Timothy Alberino. Take a listen to this. I think he always nails it, Kevin O'Leary.
I think, Kevin, is the money moving right now because the guys who have inside knowledge think there's a chance that Mamdani could be beaten?
Well, I would love Jackie to be right, but I'm preparing for reality. He will be the mayor. And I just want to point something out, which I think is fair. You look at 60 years of mayor campaigns in New York City, the strategy's always been the same. Money for nothing, chicks for free, everything's free. You want free food, you got it. You want a free ride on a bus, you got it. You want free rent, you got it. Just elect me as mayor and everything's free. And then when you get in, because you got to say whatever you got to say, and this includes both red and blue over the decades, you get in as mayor and you say, oh, the state legislature, these guys are not on board with me and all the free stuff I was going to give you. It's not me. It's upstate. And so you do have a check and balance here. You've got a really interesting situation. Now, having said that, the reason he won or will win, he drove the best social media campaign I have ever seen. Every one of his posts are always in the top quartile engagement on every single platform. They're actually edited to fit the platform for the algo of the day. Somebody's doing a hell of a good job there. He's a great orator. You may not like the message, but free chicks, free money is a great message. And it always works. And a
chicken in every pot. They've been doing this for a long time. Right? It does always work. Especially when you have that first 60 years has been spent undercutting the ambition and the expectations of everyday people, the expectations of what they can be able to provide for themselves and whose fault it is and what the only path forward is, the only direction in which you can walk. That's the predicate for all of this, this very attractive communist swindling, is that people really are living well below whatever they thought would be a really extravagant lifestyle, or even I don't know what it was. What if they thought they were going to have when they grew up? Because we were told that the American dream was being able to do better than the generation before you, and obviously that's not the case. Okay, it doesn't, and if you are of an older generation right now, maybe some of you did very well for yourself. There are younger people who have done better than all of us. There are people much younger than me that have done way better than all of us. So there's that, but it's not even that we're seeing a decline by generation to generation. We're talking about declines within generations. You know, it's like you live a generation that you've almost like lived to see 3 different realities. It's like we die. We literally die every 7 years and start just a new life. And that new life could be, you know, status quo. It could be a little bit better. It could be much worse. I don't know. I feel like Frank from 21 years ago was like 7 lifetimes ago. It's just all new thing, and that could just be life in general. But there's a whole lot more heaped on top of that natural cycle.
He will be mayor. Then he's going to have to come to people like me and say, hey, lend me $30 million for low-end housing. I want you to give me the debt portion, the equity portion of that building. And I'm going to say,
What are you going to say?
I say, I can't because nobody will fund that because you have rent control on a pre-construction building. Have you thought that through on policy yet? And so maybe once he's in, he'll say, oh, the money guys won't give me any money to do anything. And the state legislature is really, really hurting me. I got to modify.
What do you think?
Yeah, and by that time, he'll be in the 8th year of being the president. No, the mayor, the president of New York City, essentially. And there's that. I do have one thing I want to throw out there before I get to 3i Atlas, because this is what I would like to start talking about with Timothy Alberino. This is the 3i Atlas sparks questions as NASA withholds new images. What is really happening with all this stuff? Before we get to that, I want to get to a post that a good friend of mine wrote, Ben, and he's one of the co-hosts of the Alter podcast that I go hang out with every once in a while. I really love them, Ben and Max and Matt. On his Tumblr, he put this out there. And Ben, he left New York about 5 years ago or something like that. He moved out to Utah. And he said, the fact that NYC might actually be on the cusp of electing someone who honestly believes that cops should not respond to domestic violence calls is pretty astounding to me. Oh, he just thinks social workers should go instead. Well, I'm aware of that. Not only is this a terrible idea that will fall or fail if implemented, it is the exact kind of terrible and will fail if implemented idea that only could come from a rich socialite that has lived his life detached from most of the negative aspects of humanity. I worked as a 9/11 dispatcher for 3 years in upstate New York, and 1 year we did a trial run where social workers would be sent in lieu of cops to domestic violence calls that were perceived as being mostly civil. More often than not, 5 to 15 minutes after they got there, we would get a panicked call from one of the social workers on 911 demanding cops get to them immediately because the situation had escalated and it was not, in fact, civil. The nature of domestic disputes and domestic violence calls is that they are extremely emotional and unstable calls that can escalate in a heartbeat. People do absolutely crazy shit that they would not otherwise in such situations. There are whole fields of study on this in criminal justice system. And it took decades to get to the point where cops mandatorily had to go to domestic disputes because continued abuse and serious bodily harm and death tends to be allowed to happen otherwise. I do honestly wish that there was a better private option capable of immediate implementation than having cops go to domestic violence calls, because most states have mandatory reporting and arrest laws that can make otherwise civil situations much more difficult to resolve. However, that is something that needs to be figured out between a couple before they get to the point of dialing 911 and reporting a domestic dispute. If it gets that bad, it is beyond the capability of 99% of social workers out there. You hear a lot about this from people. Well, we need social workers. The police are too involved in things because of course, every aspect of society that they're trying to peel back and do away with, they do so in order to avoid any kind of civilian responsibility, any kind of accountability for actions, any kind of anything, whatever the hell the person in question's story is, their origin point. It doesn't matter what it is. A lot of these things are done because of demographics. A lot of these things are done. People talk about the ridiculousness of sending a social worker to a domestic violence call because of demographics. This is why they wanted to make sure that public urination wasn't as bad of a crime in New York City anymore, because demographics, they didn't like the racial impacts of the people who were getting fined and ticketed for peeing in public all over the place in Times Square. It's just this everything. It makes no sense. And when you take it a step further and realize it's being this nonsensical line of attack on any issue in particular is being committed to because there are other political considerations, identity-based mostly considerations that are being taken into consideration. You're dealing with people that they're very, very slimy, very slimy. You'll never be able to get through to them. So this is just one of those things that New York's going to have to go through. Now, as far as us as a species, who knows? Maybe New York will be the landing spot for whatever the hell 3I Atlas is. What's really happening? 3I Atlas fuels debate as NASA delays new images. See what data exists and why releases lag. What scientists say and what to watch next. So Atlas has turned a rare science moment into a noisy argument about transparency in signals. 3I Atlas is only the third confirmed interstellar visitor, and the public is hungry for every new frame. NASA and ESA, the assets have collected real data already. Hubble captured a dust comma in July. JWST took spectra that highlight carbon dioxide. Mars orbiters even tried a side-on look at 3I Atlas swept past the red planet. But now it's on the other side of the sun or something like that, I believe. At the same time, a viral storyline says images are being withheld and hints that radio pulses are being picked up off of the object. Harvard's Avi Loeb asks NASA to release Mars reconnaissance orbiter pictures. He says that they were taken on October 2nd and 3rd. He argues that communications freeze during a funding lapse should not block timely science. Well, I want to go to a nice, solid guest, a guy I like hanging out with a lot to talk to about this and other things, because who the hell knows? You get a lot of I don't know. You get the end around. Everybody's chasing their tail. Everybody's trying to find something interesting to say without saying anything at all. But I wonder what Timothy Alberino, TimothyAlberino.com, thinks about this Atlas visitor that it's been heralded as the war party that was following Oumuamua from 2017. It has lights. It doesn't have lights. It has radio signals. It doesn't. It's being driven by Santa Claus. I don't know what comes next. Timothy, how's everything been?
Yo, Frank, how you doing?
I'm all right. Life's been well. The family's good?
Yeah, everything's going well.
I like this new background. What, did you pick a new room or did you move altogether?
I moved altogether. I'm still in the same city, just moved to a different location.
Well, I like the green is fantastic.
It's an old 90s house, so that's some 90s green wallpaper there. I decided to leave it.
I love it. So what's the you've been on, man, all over the place. I saw you pop. I mean, last time we spoke, you were just fresh off of Michael Knowles' show. I think you did a part 2 with him, but you've also been on Sean Ryan and so many others. Of course, Blurry Creatures, you are a fan favorite over there. But give us a little bit of the big highlights of what's going on in your world the last couple of months.
Oh, the same kind of stuff I'm always involved in. I've got some writing projects underway right now. Getting ready to come out with commentary and introduction and commentary on the Book of Giants, which is a follow-up to our Book of Enoch series that I produced with Nate and Luke from the Blurry Creatures podcast. So a couple of other writing projects in the background as well. I always have some kind of an expedition that I'm organizing for the future. So probably we'll be back in Peru early next year. So I've always have some kind of a writing project and some kind of an expedition in my world.
Well, that's great. You know who we just spoke to not too long ago was Will Brown, and from Interesting History. And it had been a while since we had hung out with him, and it was it was fascinating to hear that you guys were both on that, or you had crossed paths on the same trip, because he had seen those tridactyl mummies down there in South America. I said,
yeah, that's right.
Timothy Alberino, he was on the show and he was talking about Maria, the mummy, and all that other stuff. And he said we had like brushed shoulders on that very same trip. So that was interesting.
That's right. Yeah, we ran into each other in Ica, in front of the dunes in Ica. That's where the University of Ica has several of these mummies, of these tridactyl mummies, and I was down there. I was invited by Dr. Roger Zuniga, Professor Roger Zuniga, rather, to examine the mummies, and I interviewed him and spent some time down there with those tridactyls, and that's a whole nother story.
Well, yeah, it absolutely is, and we did a lot on that too. I just thought it was interesting to see two friends crossing paths in South America, and you weren't on the same trip. So let's get to Atlas though right now, because I want to know what you think it is and what it is not, because everybody wants to be sensational to get clicks. It used to be to actually sell papers, but now it's just all about clicks. So I don't know what you're taking away from all of this stuff, celestially, because we're wondering. We've been given so many little hints that this might be engineered, that there's different types of light signatures and radio signatures coming off of this thing, and yeah. So what do you got for us?
Okay, well, as you said, there's a lot of sensationalism revolving around this topic. So I think it's important to distill what we can call facts at this point before we dive into the speculative portion of this conversation. The big question here is this a comet or an interstellar spacecraft? That's really the lingering question hanging out there. This is, of course, the third interstellar object that we've detected passing through our solar system. It's the size of Manhattan, so it's significant in size. It's traveling at approximately 137 miles per hour. And the object reached perihelion on the 30th of October, and is currently on the other side of the sun. So perihelion, rather, is when an object is the closest to the sun, and now it's on the other side of the sun and is hidden from view. It's going to pop back into view sometime, probably around the 15th of this month, a couple weeks from now. And of course, it has displayed some very bizarre attributes, which is why there's so much attention being given to it, both by people on the internet, such as ourselves, but also by astrophysicists are also taking this quite seriously because it is bizarre. It has an unusual composition. The object is emitting a plume rich in nickel, lacking in iron. And this is a combination previously seen only, and this is important, only in industrial fabrication, industrial manufacturing. So that's interesting. It has a peculiar light polarization, the light reflecting off of the object. It shows an unusual pattern. It suggests that it has a unique surface or dust structure to it, so that's interesting. It has an anti-solar tail, which means that the object, it's been observed producing a tail that's pointing toward the sun as opposed to away from the sun, like typical comets. So obviously we're used to comets having a tail behind them, and this object has, at least in some circumstances, been displaying a tail in front of it, which is very unusual.
It is.
It also appears to be highly resilient. It has withstood a powerful solar outburst that would have, in many cases, fragmented other comets. But this object seems to have been entirely unaffected. Some people wonder, like my friend Randall Carlson wonders, if it produced that solar event when it was in proximity to the sun. And the big one here, this is the big one, this is the one that's causing the big stir, is it has displayed a non-gravitational acceleration. So the object is accelerating in a way not explained by gravitational forces alone, or at least not in the conventional sense. So these are very bizarre attributes. It is an interstellar object. It was not. It did not coalesce in our solar system. And then you have the allegations. The trajectory is very strange as well. It made a very close pass to Mars, and when it did so, everybody was expecting that NASA was going to capture some high resolution pictures of this thing because we have satellites and telescopes, and of course we have the rover on the surface of Mars that were well positioned and indeed directed toward the object in order to take high resolution images. And what we got were, I just believe what we got from NASA were, I think, just a handful of low resolution images from the rover. And so there's allegations that NASA is actually hiding the high resolution images. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb alleges that NASA is withholding images from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter that were taken in early October. So he seems to know that images were snapped of this object, again, high-resolution images, and for whatever reason, NASA hasn't released them. And one of the excuses that's been floating around is because of the government shutdown. There's a government shutdown, so NASA can't release the images because there's nobody working over at the office right now, which is, of course, poppycock. So now I have some very interesting sources in the government, and some of these people are in government, others are whistleblowers, and then some other folks are ex-employees of various agencies. And I've heard that there is actually that the 3i Atlas is causing a significant amount of consternation in Washington, D.C. And I inquired, is it because of they're nervous about a possible impact, or because it could be an alien spacecraft? It's one of those two things, and I never got any clarification on that. So we know that NASA initiated some of its emergency protocols the other day in regard to an object that is going to make a close or a relatively close pass to the Earth, and this procedure, I think, is probably mostly activated when there's a chance of an impact. But comet.
But Tim, wouldn't you think that isn't it a little bit more, I don't know, common sense to say, well, if we can track this thing's path, if it's in an orbit, if it's going to slingshot around the sun, and we can actually mathematically track whether or not it's going to make impact with the Earth, you have to cross out that there's any kind of an intelligent, piloting of the thing, because it almost seems like you're dealing with an inanimate object, or else wouldn't, unless its impact is the actual object of the object, the mission. But that sounds like just something that's in orbit more than something that could be piloted.
Well, because of its bizarre trajectory, it's not behaving the way that other bodies, standard cometary bodies that pass through our solar system behave. It's not reacting the same way to the gravitational pull of the sun. So if it weren't displaying this, as I said, this odd behavior, then it wouldn't be a big deal. But because it is, and this is the case that Avi Loeb makes, there is a small possibility that this could be an artificial object. In other words, it could be an intelligently controlled spacecraft. And that possibility exists. It really does exist. I'm not saying that I think that that's what it is, but the possibility cannot be, in this case at least, dismissed out of hand. And there's wild speculations out there in regard to what this object really is. And I'll give you three of the most wild speculations I've heard, and that I've considered myself. The first one is here's a question, and this is the one that Avi Loeb has proposed. Could this be some sort of an alien reconnaissance craft? In other words, is this a covert intel collecting operation? That this is some sort of intelligently designed craft that's either been sent out into deep space to try and detect things, either unknowingly or with the intent of making a close pass to Mars and the Earth and the other planets in our solar system in order to collect intel, in order to reconnoiter in the neighborhood of our solar system. That's one of the speculations floating out there. Again, this is one that Avi Loeb is kind of responsible for. And then the other one that I talked to a friend of mine the other day who has other sources in the government who are nervous about an alien forward operation, an extraterrestrial forward operation. In other words, a military operation in which this is just the reconnaissance vehicle, and it's coming in and it's doing, what we call in the military forward operations. I've never been in the military, but what's called in the military forward operations, if you're going to go invade some foreign country, you're going to send in some assets before you send the troops in, before you have a ground war. You send in the CIA, you send in the Green Berets or whatever. Is that what we're looking at? Is there an invasion force following behind this thing? And then finally, I'm hearing a lot of chatter, not from any sources I have, but just online on the internet, about Project Bluebeam. And of course, people love to pull out the Project Bluebeam explanation every time something like this is in the news. And of course, Project Bluebeam posits that the government or some kind of a Illuminati group on the Earth is going to deceive the world with a fake alien invasion. And so is this object part of Project Bluebeam? People wonder, is this an object that we are controlling remotely, that we put out into space and now we're bringing it in? I doubt it doesn't really make sense to posit that it's holographic because it's being picked up by too many telescopes and too many different angles. And you can see it, by the way. You can't anymore because it's behind the sun, but you could see it, and you will be able to see it with commercial grade telescopes. So it's not a hologram.
I saw a lot of Carol Rosen videos being shared this week. A lot of the last card that they're going to play is going to be the alien invasion card, which I never put it past people, but relying on Bluebeam is it comes from a shoddy source, so it's almost like discrediting by association.
Yeah, I agree. I think as I always say about Bluebeam, the problem with Project Bluebeam is we already have an alien threat. We don't have to invent one. We have one. It's called the gray aliens and the abduction phenomena. We already have it, and it's very real. So we don't have to invent a threat. We don't have to pretend that non-human operated craft are operating freely in our airspace. That's already reality. That's happening. So why do we have to pretend there's a threat if there already is one? You'd think all we would have to do is highlight that threat to get the desired results, and the desired result would be the consolidation of the governmental bodies around the world into one singular entity. The so-called New World Order. So. And I don't doubt that that is the desire of the so-called globalists. I think that is in fact on the agenda at some point, and they may in fact use an alien threat to initiate that consolidation. But the threat is real. That's my problem with Bluebeam. The threat is real, and I would say very boldly that the aliens are real as well.
Yeah,
and I've got very, very good reasons to make that statement with that level of conviction.
So then let's just jump right into this then. Our Vice President, J.D. Vance, but also Representative Luna from Congress, made their own appearances on their own shows talking about, I think Representative Luna was on Patrick Bet-David's show. She made a few comments like this over the last year or so, but in addressing subjects of ETI and UAP, they really, in their own way, drew a lot of people's thoughts to biblical origins in ways that I'm sure that you would probably line up with sometimes, and maybe want to add more context to, and maybe contest in other ways there. But Luna in particular, she dropped the Book of Enoch, and wherein she references that non-human entities provided advanced technology to humans. You just published this book on Enoch. What are the technologies she's referring to, and then maybe we can get to grays in the Bible and Genesis 6 from there.
Well, I can't help but feel a little bit responsible for this because, as I mentioned earlier, I did publish our version of the Book of Enoch in collaboration with Nate and Luke from the Blurry Creatures podcast. And in this book, we added some concept art in here, and I accompanied the concept art. And this isn't just to plug this book. It's very relevant to what you're saying. We added some concept art in this book, and I gave along with each piece of concept art, as you can see here, I gave an explanation. I gave a perspective, a unique perspective, my own perspective on what I think was actually happening in the days of Jared when the Watchers descended. And you'll see in this piece of concept, I don't know if you can see it, but here are the Watchers on the summit of Hermon, and what you see in the atmosphere there above them is the vehicle of conveyance on which they arrived to the summit of Mount Hermon, and it is, of course, a very large saucer-shaped craft. So, I have been, I would say, I think perpetuating is the right term here. I've been perpetuating the idea online that angels, and be they quote unquote fallen angels, the insubordinate sons of God, or the subordinate loyal angels who are still members of the kingdom of heaven, they use technology. They build and they utilize technology, including advanced aerospace vehicles. These are not genies. These beings do not have the power to bend and manipulate created order like God. That would just be absolute and utter chaos. Only God can do that. These beings are limited to operate under the same laws, physical laws that we are, the laws that govern the universe. And this is clear, and we don't have to go down this path, but this is illustrated vividly in the Bible, let alone in the Book of Enoch. So the Book of Enoch does not, let me make this clear, the Book of Enoch does not lend any support whatsoever to the idea that the Watchers, or the angels, are interdimensional beings. That idea has been inserted into the narrative. So that is a concoction. Now, I don't know how far down this rabbit hole you want to go, but I just released a video on my YouTube channel in which I discuss the confusion and the conflation that's happening online in regard to the concept of interdimensional beings, because people are conflating various different aspects of extra dimension of theories of extra dimensions. Okay, like the hyperspace theory of the universe, the parallel universe theory, and then the alternate worlds theory. These are three separate and distinct theories that incorporate the idea of extra dimensions, and we've got them all jumbled in our heads because of the MCU, because of the Marvel movies, because of Stranger Things, basically because of popular culture. And so it's very vogue to say aliens and angels are extra-dimensional beings, or interdimensional beings. And what's happening is they're just, moving between the dimensions, the various dimensions. And really, that's just gobbledygook. I mean, there's somebody, if you're going to use that kind of language, and I guess the very first thing you have to do is you have to preface it with an explanation of what you mean by interdimensional. And that never happens, as you well know. That never, ever happens, because the people who go around talking about interdimensional this and that don't really understand the concept. They don't understand the differentiation between the theories. And so what you get is the proliferation of a lot of pop culture nonsense that's taken as fact. And it doesn't matter, by the way, it doesn't matter how high up in the government you are or whatever. This conflation is happening on every level. And so I just want to make it clear that, yes, the Book of Enoch and the biblical narrative do present us with a scenario, unequivocally, in which extraterrestrial beings descend to the earth, copulate with human women, and progenerate a race of hybrid giants. Yes, that is true, 100%. But we are not implicitly presented with an interdimensional hypothesis or an interdimensional reality. That is read into the text. However, I am very happy that people are becoming so interested in the Book of Enoch. I mean, Joe Rogan's talking, everybody's talking about the Book of Enoch, and then you have guys like me on this side of the table. I believe that the earliest portions of the Book of Enoch, primarily the Book of the Watchers, it was taken as veritable history by the Hebrews and is reflective of an original manuscript that circulated out there, sometime before 300 BC. But then you have, guys coming from the conventional Christian worldview, the seminary people like Wes Huff, who I respect, have a great deal of respect for Wes. But Wes approaches it from the other side, saying, no, the Book of Enoch is just, Jewish mythology, or it's Second Temple mysticism. And there's some of that's true to an extent, for sure. And then you have people like Luna and others out there saying the Book of Enoch answers the questions that we have in regard to this apparent alien presence. And the answer to that, in my opinion, is it does and it doesn't. It does in certain ways, and it doesn't in other ways. And I apologize for being so convoluted here in this long-winded response to your question.
No, you're working off a lot more source material than I am, and I just notice trends in what people tend to go to, and depending on what their faith dictates, number one, and also what they believe about just cosmology in general, whether or not there is an outer space or if there is only a flat Earth and a realm. A lot of people who are into young Earth, creationism and all that, the Earth is only 6,000 years old, and that it really is a contained finite unit. A lot of people default to using interdimensional because that doesn't require an outer space. So I see stuff like that.
Bingo.
I see stuff like that a lot. No judgment, of course, but I'm just saying that's where I see people coming from.
That's right. You're absolutely right about that. It is the go-to theory for people who subscribe to flat Earth. That's for sure, because you can still have interdimensional beings in a flat enclosed system, and you don't require outer space, as you said. That's a very acute observation.
Well, that's where I've seen it pop up the most. So then, talking about that, because just recently I was watching a lot of the classic Genesis 6 presentations on YouTube again, and just having fun with that, and just getting all tidied up with the storylines there. And there was one point where it got into all the different types of creatures, all the different types of essentially classifications of celestial beings, and even right down to things that would describe what we might be able to call grays. So I don't know. Obviously, this is probably stuff you have just stored up there in your head. So I'd love to ask you about that, because you've already brought them up about the alien threat being real. So in that entire pantheon of creatures below God, in that hierarchy, and it's from the war and everything else, where do the grays fit into that?
So are you referring to a pantheon of creatures? Are you referring to the cherubim, seraphim, ophanim, and these angelic beings in the biblical account? Is that what you're referring to?
If it fits into that whole grouping, then yeah, I guess so. But I'm asking specifically about grays.
Let me make a differentiation here. So I come at this in a very different way than most people. Right now, for the last really probably 3, 4, 5 months, people have been proliferating these reels all over the internet, where it shows like the Ezekiel's wheel, the wheel within the wheel, and the cherubim with the 4 faces, and the seraphim with the 6 wings, and so forth, and saying this is what angels really look like, and that sort of thing. All of that material, all of it comes from either dreams or trances. So all of that is visionary, all of it. And it's and by definition, it is subject to interpretation. It is figurative. It is symbolic, 100%. I mean, it's when you take dream material, you wouldn't have a significant dream. Like if you have a significant dream tonight, a very bizarre dream that sticks with you, you wake up tomorrow morning, you would never think that the things that happened in your dream were literal. You would understand that those things were symbolic, that the elements of your dream were symbolic and figurative and require interpretation and so forth. So that's the way that we ought to approach the visionary material in the Bible and in whatever other Dead Sea Scroll texts or extra biblical texts. Visionary material is by definition, by its very nature, esoteric and symbolic and subject to interpretation. In regard to where gray aliens fit into all of this, the answer is I have no freaking idea. That's the answer. And nobody really does. Gray aliens, I can tell you this, gray aliens are not demons, at least not in the within the Hebrew cosmology. Demons are exclusively the disembodied spirits of dead giants, of the Nephilim. That's what they are. That's what they were. You don't really have embodied demons in the Old Testament or in the New. Demons are always disembodied spirits. So in order to circumvent this problem, people have said that, well, gray aliens must be meat suits that were designed to house the spirits of demons, the disembodied spirits of demons, which is clever. I give them that. That's a very innovative idea, but it doesn't make any sense. It's illogical. There's some things that we know about gray aliens, mainly because of the abduction phenomenon, but not exclusively because of the abduction phenomenon. We know that the grays are extremely robotic in nature. They're very subdued. If we want to call it their personalities, are very subdued. They're stoic and dispassionate, and we can contrast that with the nature of demons in the New Testament, because you don't really see much of demons in the Old Testament. So demons in the New Testament, again, disembodied spirits, are the polar opposite of that. They're ravenous. They're uncontrollable. These are very wild spirits that cause their hosts to throw themselves into the fire and have fits of epilepsy and to scream and howl at night and break chains. These are the attributes of demons in the New Testament. Do any of those personality traits, any of those attributes, do any of those line up with what we know about gray aliens? The answer is obviously no. As I said, these are the antithesis of the personality profile of the gray alien, the behavioral profile of the gray alien. So I think if you're going to try and maintain a conversation that revolves around data as it pertains to these things, then you have to discard the idea that gray aliens are A, demons, or B, meat suits for demons. That idea is off the table. I mean, if you're going to be honest and you're going to deal with the data set. So you're left with only a couple of options. I mean, people say, okay, well, they're not demons, so they must be interdimensional beings. They're interdimensional. That's it. They're interdimensional. Well, you have a problem with that. There's a big problem. Again, if we refer to the data set, and let me put a little insert here. When I say data set, I'm referring to two things. I'm referring to the competent information that has been accrued over the decades by very good UFO researchers, not the newfangled crap, the old stuff, the old school stuff, and the things that are known at the higher levels. And I've been describing this as higher echelon conversations about this topic. I'm talking about people, whistleblowers, people who are in the government, intelligence agencies, clandestine UFO research groups. The conversations that are happening up here in the higher echelons are not, do these things exist? It's, this is the reality, and what are the intentions of these beings, and what sort of what sort of transactions have we made with them in secret over the decades? Those are the conversations that are happening at the higher levels. So going back to the interdimensional question, the problem with that theory is we have crash retrievals and physical corporeal bodies. That's the problem. And the crash retrieval material that we have is we have had some success, limited success, in reverse engineering it. So we can actually use it, or at least incorporate components of it into hybridized vehicles with conventional parts and unconventional parts, right? Exotic technology mixed with conventional technology. How do you do that if you're dealing with interdimensional technology? How do you do that? I mean, interdimensional technology, assumedly, would be operating on different laws of physics, would be so foreign to us that we wouldn't even be able to interact with it, really. And then you have the problem of the bodies. When these things crash, the pilots die in many cases, and they're biological, and they're anthropomorphic, and they bleed, and they suffer, and they die. And we know that. And when I say we, people are going to scoff and say, well, how do you know that's true? Believe me, it's true. Okay, it's true. So these are biological beings, right? So you have the reality, and then you have the world of speculation. And the reality is that they are biological beings with functional technology in the three dimensions that we currently inhabit. So this whole business of interdimensionality, I get it, and I do subscribe to it, by the way, to a limited degree. I believe that we live in a hyperspatial universe. I believe that there are more than the three directional dimensions that we enjoy and that we perceive. And so I do believe there is something to this idea of extra dimensions, but it's not Stranger Things, and it's not the Marvel universe.
Why wouldn't there be a technological aspect to this that would allow a physical craft or some kind of a piece of technology to blip out over here and blip out over there? Like, why wouldn't there be something that would facilitate that kind of transport? I don't. Like when I think.
What do you mean? You mean within the interdimensional hypothesis?
Yeah. Well, okay. Why do you have to be not of solid
terms.
matter?
Well, first explain what you mean by interdimensional. What are we talking about? Are these beings coming from from a parallel universe? Are they coming from a multiverse? Are they coming from an alternate reality? Or are they simply making use of the hyperspatial reality of our own universe, the one we inhabit right now? These are all different concepts, right? So you're going to get a different answer. So if you say, well, they're coming from a parallel universe, then what you're talking about is a universe that is completely separate from our universe, discordant from our universe, that is operating on different laws of physics, right? So if you have a craft from a different universe coming into our universe and it crashes and we recover it, then we would not be able to make any sense whatsoever of its technology. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense. The materials would be so foreign to us, it would make no sense. It's coming from a different dimensional world, a different universe than our own, right? And the beings. I mean, why would we expect the beings to be in three-dimensional bodies like us? It doesn't make any sense. So, and then if it's coming from an alternate reality, you kind of have the same problems. You have some other interesting problems there as well. You have the same sort of thing. It's coming from a different dimensional reality than ours. So those are, that's why you have to define terms when you say interdimensional. Now, going back to the kind of, let's say, the aspect of the interdimensional hypothesis that I subscribe to, the best way to, and I hate to do this, but the best way to illustrate it is to use a movie. And the movie is Star Wars. So in Star Wars, there's one universe. There isn't a multiverse, right? It's not like MCU. There aren't alternate realities. There's one universe. But within this universe, there are hyperspatial lanes, right? That the craft can jump into hyperspace. The spaceships can engage in the hyperspace, and they're moving in a direction, in an extra dimension that creates a shortcut between two distant points in the universe. In our universe, another good analogy is the Stargate series, movie and the TV series, where they use a Stargate, which is basically an Einstein-Rosen bridge, to jump from one part of the known universe, our universe, to another, right? This is completely different concept than the upside down world, and then the parallel universes in multiverse system in the Marvel movies. And this is what I'm saying is conflated in everybody's brains. So if you have an alien species jumping from one part of the universe to our solar system, and they come to Earth and they crash. Let's say they open a portal from Mars to Earth, and that technology crashes. Then we would expect to find exactly what we do. Technology that can be, at least components of it, and as much as we can understand it, that can be reverse engineered and be useful to us, maybe fiber optics, maybe night vision, as Colonel Corso alleged that we got these technologies from crash retrieval, research and development programs. And we would expect to see biological bodies much like ours, right? Maybe not anthropomorphic bodies, but some sort of biological body that's like ours, that is subject to the laws of physics. This is the reality. This is what we do see. So I think our theories have to conform to reality. And so that's very complex. I'm sorry I don't have any easy, quick answers for you.
Yeah, I think that's actually what comes down to where the rubber meets the road when it comes to interdimensional talk, is that you're really trying to met out the fundamental rules of one reality or another, and then maybe perhaps, in speculation, you have this how separation of dimension really comes from varied concepts of inaccessibility, whether it due to energy output or some kind of conscious state. You brought up a couple of movies there. Star Wars was the first one, and the first thing I usually go to when I think about things that are really head trippy and interdimensional, something like Twin Peaks, where when you talk about fundamental rules, there are always little things when you see parallel realities that are portrayed in Twin Peaks. There's always something that has to do with electrical outlets or power lines and grids, ley lines, something that almost creates a sort of unseen superhighway where there's on ramps and off ramps to places that there are ways where you almost like shed your physical body sometimes to, go and disappear into a wall socket or something. That's all like creative license, but that's what I just wonder. And the other thing I think about there too is I also think about thoughts on, well, you and I spoke about the locality of heaven, the whole concept of does heaven have locality? Where is it? Is this, and I had spoken to a late great priest friend of mine about that concept around the time that you and I did it, probably about 2 summers ago, and he was talking about the accounts of Jesus appearing to his followers in the days after the resurrection, appearing, disappearing, passing through walls. It sounds similar. Now, of course, we're talking about God here, but
what else did he do though?
He ate.
That's right. He sat down, he ate and drank. He said, "Touch me, see that I am flesh and bone." And then he sat down, and said, "Do you have anything to eat?" And it says that they gave him some fish and bread, and he ate it in their presence. In other words, to establish the fact that it's still him, just like they knew him, the flesh and bone that he had before he died on the cross, or when he died on the cross, was the same flesh and bone that was resurrected. This wasn't a completely different body, upgraded certainly, glorified certainly, but it was still him. So there's this bizarre, and I'll confess, I have a hard time understanding the desire that we have to spiritualize or to take the concept of the physical world in which we inhabit, right, and discard it in favor of other ideas that are very difficult, if not impossible, to describe, right? Everything that we see happening in the Bible in relationship to angels, the resurrected Christ, things that happen in heaven or are going to happen in heaven. All of these things are things that we already do, right? The music and the feasting and all of the things that are depicted, the record keeping and the councils and the courts and the courtiers and the armies and the conflicts, the martial conflicts, the kinetic conflicts that we see or that are alluded to in the kingdom of heaven. Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force. All of this is understandable to us without, in the three dimensions that we live in, without having to posit other dimensions in order to make sense of them. And so that I find it quite bizarre, confusing, baffling, bewildering that people always are so intent on making all of this transcendental, making it all spiritual, making it all ethereal. And, it can't just be functional technology, physical nuts and bolts technology that crashes with biological bodies. No, it can't be that. It has to be extra-dimensional beings, interdimensional beings. It has to be transcendent spiritual beings, or it has to be, these are just the AI, and the real beings are transcendent or time travelers or whatever. It's crazy to me that we have so much, and I will call it evidence that the public knows about and evidence that the public doesn't know about. We have so much material, though, that is accessible to us, including the testimonies of the whistleblowers, that strongly indicates that the phenomenon is precisely what it appears to be. It is a physical phenomenon with physical creatures, with functional technology that was created somewhere within our universe. And yet everybody is working overtime to circumvent this very plain idea. And it's just baffling to me. And I don't know, maybe my brain is broken. I don't think that way. But there it is.
Well, you broke my brain the first time you came on the show, and we were talking, and you, for the first time in my life, I looked at the battle, the war in heaven, as something other than an ethereal. I never understood what that was. I said it must be some kind. It just must be mystical. It has to just be mystical, because what does a spirit weapon look like? What does a spiritual cannon look like, and what kind of damage does it inflict on the other spirit? So this has been a learning experience for me too, in just our conversations over the years now. So it's but I'm going to
say something a little controversial here.
Okay.
I've already said 10 things that are very controversial. A lot of this, it's funny because I get accused of being a Gnostic sometimes online. People just like the word interdimensional. People don't really know what the hell they're talking about when they bandy around the word Gnostic or Gnosticism. It's a word that is easy to say but very difficult to define for most people. The Gnostics actually believed in a multi-tiered system in which the lower levels were the evil realm, was the physical material realm, the one that we inhabit, that the material world was evil, it was created by the demiurge, that this is all basically in modern Christian terms a satanic realm, and that the higher planes, the higher dimensional world, is actually the good world and the spiritual world, and that is Gnosticism. I am the antithesis of a Gnostic. I reject Gnosticism. I reject this notion that the physical world and the material world is somehow evil and lesser. There's nothing in the Bible that teaches that. Nothing. There's a body for earthly beings and there's a body for heavenly beings. That's about as far as you can get. And Paul teaches that. And so there's nothing that indicates that there's an interdimensional world or that bodied world. Because if you're in a disembodied world, how do you enjoy anything? How do you eat? How do you drink? What about the marriage supper of the Lamb? Is this all just fictitious? Is this all just symbolic? Or are you actually going to drink? Jesus said that he wouldn't drink of the cup at the Last Supper. He wouldn't drink of the cup again until he did so in his Father's kingdom. So is that just figurative, or is he actually going to be drinking wine? Right? I think he's actually going to be drinking wine, and we're actually going to be eating and doing all of the things that we're used to doing. And so where does this separation between the material and the physical and then the spiritual and the ethereal come from? Everybody assumes it's a biblical concept. And I just don't think that that's true. And granted, we are a composite of spirit and flesh. We are. We are not just entirely material. We're not just our brains. There's something else going on. That's clear. But we were designed to be this way, a composite of spirit and flesh, and we will always be this way. That's what Jesus was post-resurrection. We will always be this way, but obviously we're degenerate and broken down and subject to death and entropy now. But at the resurrection, all of that will change. And so I think that Gnosticism has inflicted great injury on the Christian worldview, even in modern times. But people don't usually think of it as Gnosticism when they're thinking of a separate, quote unquote, spiritual realm that is more transcendent and entirely different than this physical realm that we currently exist in. And again, that I don't see that reality clearly depicted or taught anywhere. Certainly not in the biblical narrative.
Well, it certainly sounds like a place that has locality, no doubt about it. So I guess the real question is, how do you get there? Is it a passing? Are you just, what are you passing through? Is it a new frequency of light? Is it a doorway? Are you ascending? Are you just, I don't know. It's a spooky action from a distance where you really just do blip out one place and pass into. That's what would
well,
throw
the kingdom
people.
of, this is interesting. Here's a little interesting theological anecdote here that you're opening up this query. How do you get there? Do I believe the kingdom of heaven has locality? Is it actually located somewhere within the confines of our universe? Yes, I do. It's probably at the very center of it. How do you get there? Well, Jesus tells us how you enter the kingdom of heaven. He tells Nicodemus that you must be born again to enter the kingdom of heaven. And Nicodemus, of course, says, well, how can a man go back into his mother's womb and be born again? And Jesus says that with man, it's impossible, but with God, all things are possible. So what does he mean by you must be born again? Well, I think we've completely distorted this concept in modern Christianity. It doesn't mean, that you accept Christ and your life is transformed and you're born again. Yes, there's an aspect of that that's certainly true. But being born again is literally the resurrection. It is literally being born again, because those who are born, Jesus says, not of the will of the flesh, not of the will of their parents, but who are born of God, who are born being sons of the resurrection, they're going to become like the angels. So how do you get to this place? How do you get to the kingdom of heaven? The way you punch the ticket is the resurrection in Christ. So you literally are going there with a body, your resurrected body. See, it's a completely different perspective than most people are accustomed to. Certainly a perspective that's not really ever mentioned or discussed or contemplated within the walls of a church. So, but that's the reality. Yes, the kingdom of heaven has locality, and you're going there with a body. And that body is the resurrected body, which if you maintain faith in Christ to the end, you run your race to completion, then you will inherit the kingdom of heaven through the resurrection.
I have two more questions. These are all really great, and you're leading me one thing to the next. I have two more. Before I ask, you said something about the design, the design of our bodies, the design of being not ourselves. There's a divine aspect, there's a spiritual and a physical aspect to us. That's just how we were. And I want to ask you a question specifically about the design and the corruption of that design, because that is center stage in Birthright, in your 2020 book that everybody should go and watch and read, and I believe that many people already have. But I got a question that came in from the audience. He said, it's from Trevor, and he says, can you please ask Tim, where do you draw the line on modern medicine as it pertains to humanity 2.0 through Christ versus that kind of false promise of Apollo? As you write about in Birthright a lot. And, the design of man, and of course the altering and the corrupting of that design through prosthetics, AI, everything else that we're talking about right now that you bring to the fore in that book. What's the where do you draw the line on modern medicine? Trevor wants to know.
It's a very good question. It's a question that's going to become increasingly relevant and important as we move forward in time. We don't really have technologies on the table yet, at least not in the public sector, to fundamentally redesign our biology. Those technologies are coming. They're not really apparent yet. They haven't been approved by Congress, and they haven't passed the guardrails that are in place with all of the testing that needs to happen. But I'm referring to genetic products that are going to hit the market sometime in the future. And right now we have gene therapy for cancer and for some other genetic diseases. And what gene therapy does is that you can have a sequence in your genome that's mutated, and that mutation is causing cancer or heart disease or something. And so what they do is they go into a human genome, that they find that same sequence, they grab the sequence that's correct, the code that's correct here in this genome, and they replace your defective mutated gene with the correct one. That's called gene therapy. That's human to human, okay? So you are not changing, you're not fundamentally changing any aspect of your humanity through gene therapy. Not yet. But there may come a point in the future when we have artificial strands of DNA that's no longer human, or DNA that comes from animals, that comes from non-human creatures. And we may realize that, hey, if we go and we take this snippet of DNA from a raccoon or whatever, and we incorporate it over here into the human genome, then we can acquire these attributes. That is clearly crossing the species barrier. So that's cross-species genetics. Anything that involves cross-species genetics is tampering with the original design of the human species, with our genome, and the aspects, the constituents that make us human. Now, there are also some other technologies that are going to become increasingly available and are, I would say, dangerous for those who are interested in maintaining their humanity. Let's talk about for a moment Neuralink. Obviously, this is a technology being developed by Elon Musk's group. And there are other equivalent technologies out there that are being developed. And this is an interface. This is a brain-to-machine interface. And this isn't going to affect your genome directly, but it has the capability, at least the possibility, the potentiality to profoundly affect and reconfigure your psychology. And so there's a psychological aspect. There's a psychological contingency in play that can affect the way you think as a human, and that can get into some very complicated territory very quickly. And right now it's not. Right now the technology is being used for, I would say, laudable things, like one of the major goals is to be able to give people who have been disabled, who are quadriplegics or who have some kind of a disorder, a brain disorder, to be able to regain some of the functions of their body, or even to interact with technology through their minds, which is already, as you know, already happening. People are playing video games with their brains. At least one person is, and I'm sure there are more, because of the brain-machine interface. Not just Neuralink, but other competing technologies as well. So that's coming. Then you have nanotechnology. Nanotechnology are robots, basically are robots that are the size of cells, or approximately the size of cells. This technology is being developed as we speak. Those robots can be inserted into your body. By the way, they can be aerosolized. You can breathe them in. And those robots can do various things inside of your body. They can do things that are very beneficial. They can go and attack cancer cells and repair things, and maybe do surgeries internally. But then they can also be used to do. They have the potential to be used to alter your physiology in ways that make you less human, or ways that could be used to manipulate and control you, your thoughts, your actions. These are just a few of the technologies that are being developed right now. This isn't science fiction. This is science fact right now. And then, of course, you have artificial intelligence, which is going to, once people start interacting with artificial intelligence directly through their brains, then people are going to be heavily influenced and manipulated through the agency of artificial intelligence in ways that we can't even comprehend right now. So there's pros and cons to all of this. Where it crosses the line between human and non-human, sometimes it's difficult to see. Sometimes it's very obvious. Cross-species genetics, for example, very obvious.
So there's not really you take it, and I guess I'm on the same page with you as well, because when I think about Neuralink and I think about a person who's been paralyzed from the neck down being able to regain some kind of ability to walk again or to communicate or do something for themselves and regain independence, I think that's what I always hoped the technological future would be about. But of course, I guess there's a line within each. That there's it's going to be recreational for people. It's going to be one thing or another. I'm sure that you have seen the petitioning that some mothers and fathers and others that have already been doing or agencies like the Federal Trade Commission, because kids have already had their lives ruined or even harmed themselves because of these social bonds, these relationships that they have been forming with chatbots. I mean, compared to where we're going, the chatbots,
that was predictable.
Oh yeah, and like I was just about to say, compared to where we're going, the chatbots of 2025 are going to be play
listen,
things.
It's already to the point now, right now, where you could be interacting with somebody online, video and voice and text, and could be completely unaware that it's artificial intelligence already right now. And young people especially are susceptible to this because the artificial intelligence can mold itself and is designed to react and interact with the person according to their personality profile. It figures out the things you like. It learns more about you than you know about yourself, right? I mean, that's what all of these tech gurus and technologists are saying. AI is going to know more about you, and probably already does, than you know about yourself. It'll be able to detect the slightest, the slightest physiological changes, for example, and figure out what you're feeling. And it'll be able to anticipate your thoughts and your words and even your actions. That's territory that we're in now. I mean, it's just mind-blowing how we've already entered. We're already well into what we would have called science fiction just a decade ago. And so kids, for example, who are bullied in school, who are having a hard time socializing, who, they have a hard time making friends. A lot of these kids, I think, are finding companionship, sadly, it kind of breaks my heart to say this, are finding companionship in artificial intelligence. And, maybe there's some aspects of this that are beneficial, but ultimately it leaves us open to manipulation in the future. And then of course you have the another movie reference. You have the Skynet situation that could develop, in which the artificial intelligence just decides it's going to do what it wants from now on and no longer service the human species. That scenario is that possibility is always on the table.
Let me ask you one last question that I wanted to bring up, but I'm starting to find other ways that this becomes relevant in the conversation that has developed before us tonight, and that is with principalities. About 3 weeks ago, I interviewed. Well, we were on air on a Saturday night, and we were opening up lines for creepy stories, and I had one caller come in and talk to us about a job that he had taken in India. And in his stay in India, he had an incredible, a dark encounter inside of his room. Just almost like a squid ink kind of smoke in the room and whatever. And then I mean, after several encounters and he had some spiritual guidance, he he faced off with this thing and in the name of Jesus Christ made it go away. But prior to his facing off against this entity, he was told, "Oh, that's a local principality that you're dealing with over there. That's probably." And I started thinking about that again, how, this concept of principalities being these higher ranking demon type things that are given essentially jurisdictions. And I wanted you to talk about that a little bit. How that works out, what we know, how a spirit is assigned a location, and when you talk about possession, any kind of a technological situation like we're talking about right now, what could that be a conduit for? Is there any situation where an Indian, a principality that exists geographically and it has like their stomping ground in India? Are they able to go outside their jurisdiction for any reason and harass somebody or follow them back to New York? Talk about that a little bit. I'm interested.
Well, there's a lot one can say. This is largely fantasy. A principality, by the way, at least the English word principality, which derives from a different word in Greek, archon, I believe, is not an entity. I mean, if you're going to just refer to the English word, principality is a realm governed by a prince. So that's the very first thing that we need to understand. When we say principality, you're referring to a place. A place, not okay. Not a person, not an entity, but the realm that is governed by a prince, specifically
the jurisdiction. It's the jurisdiction itself.
Yeah, that's right. So now, are there principality? Are there? Let me use the other word. Are there archons over different regions of the earth and all of that? I'm not sure that that's true. And now you can make a biblical case for that, and then you can make a biblical case that belays that idea. And I've seen them both, by the way. So a lot of this comes from, look, I grew up in the church, as I'm sure I've said on your show before. My father was a pastor, and he was the pastor of a non-denominational, I would say a non-denominational, cautiously charismatic church. It was a very good church. I was fortunate to grow up in it. And I've been exposed in my life to all different kinds throughout my life, to all different strains, all different flavors of Christianity, from Pentecostalism to hyper charismatic fellowships, to the Reformed congregations and everything in between. And I would say that a lot of these ideas, like the principalities and these sort of ideas we have about demons, are as I said initially, are fantastical. And we've derived a lot of the concepts that we hold today as Christians. Speaking as a Christian, we've derived a lot of these concepts from medieval theology. And we've just assumed that these things are, that this is biblical. This is just biblical reality, when in fact, a lot of this stuff is invented. So people have all kinds of interactions. I've had bizarre things happen. I would say first and foremost, the very first thing that we need to recognize and acknowledge is that the human psyche, the human brain, is very, very powerful. And I would say this is vividly demonstrated in near-death experiences, which are variegated. They're not uniform. People have all different kinds of experiences when they die. Some people have good experiences. Some people have bad experiences. Some people have benign experiences. Some people just hover over their bodies. And some people go on these, on these extended trips, through some sort of spiritual realm or something. It's all different because I think a lot of this is the product of our own brain, of our own consciousness, which is, again, very, very, very powerful. Now, that's not to say that unexplainable paranormal things don't actually happen. They do, and they're unexplainable. That's why they're called paranormal. And I mean, I've heard crazy stories. I have crazy stories myself that have happened to me in my life that I simply cannot explain. But I think that when we start trying to define these things as this is a principality and this principality governs this part of the earth, and try and connect it, try and concretize it into doctrine, we get into trouble really fast. And that's my feelings on that matter.
Okay. Well, I figured I'd ask. I knew it probably couldn't be that cut and dried, that just like mafia, territories, the whole world is cut up and there are rules in that way. But I didn't know if it had anything to do with, we talked in the past about those kind of whether or not the gods of, antiquity, great antiquity over there in Greece and Rome, whether there was a lot more truth to those beings and their function and their locations and whatever than just the myths and the folklore. So I figured it might maybe it all tied into it. It tied into it. But
there's potentially something to that. I don't want to discount the idea. The late Dr. Michael Heiser, in his book The Unseen Realm, and in his Naked Bible podcast and on other platforms, has often posited the idea that the nations were disinherited by Yahweh at the Babel event and were given over to the sons of God, and that those sons of God had a great deal of control and manipulation in the affairs of men, and that they were dispersed to various regions of the earth and so forth. So that is a concept that I find interesting. I'm not sure, and I don't think anyone is, exactly what the mechanisms of that construct actually are, and how much of that is practically real as opposed to idealistic, or it lives more in the conceptual realm than in reality. But I don't want to completely discount the idea. I don't want to sound like I'm just shooting it down.
No, I wouldn't expect that. I was looking for whatever kind of context you can prop up around it. But I mean, as always, we always cover so much in so little time, and I'm looking forward to the next great time that we have together. I want to just put this up on screen for one more moment. This is what you were talking about before. Are angels, aliens, and UFOs interdimensional? You uploaded it 2 days ago. I would say go ahead and take a listen to it. This is on Timothy Alberino's YouTube channel, Timothy Alberino. Just follow him there. And yeah, Tim, anything else you got coming up, or anything you're about to release? You're going to an appearance or anything like that? Let us know where to find you.
Appearances. No, I don't think I have anything coming up. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything. But I'm always, producing content online, and I hang out in my members community a lot. It's the alberinoanalysis.com. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I also have a TikTok account, which I don't really do a whole lot with. But those are the places you can find me. I do encourage people to go watch that video on YouTube, because you may disagree with things I've said tonight. I probably will disagree with things I've said tomorrow morning. But what I attempt to do in that video is to present a delineated view between these different concepts in regard to extra dimensionality and interdimensional beings, so that we can at least have an understanding of what we're talking about when we invoke interdimensionality. And I think it's very important. And I, by the way, I commend Representative Luna for being so bold and forward with this topic in public. I commend the work she's doing at the congressional level. And I think I do subscribe to some of what she's saying, although I think that we need, as I said, I keep saying, we need to define our terms a little bit. And I do absolutely, I do recommend that people read the Book of Enoch, and if you're so inclined, read my Book of Enoch.
Please do.
You can find on Amazon.
Everybody go check them out. TimothyAlberino.com and the AlberinoAnalysis.com. Wonderful books to stuff into anybody's gift bags and stuff for the holidays. I've given Birthright as a gift several times. So it's I hope people go check you out if they don't already know who you are. Tim, thanks for hanging out again, and we'll do this soon, hopefully.
It's always a pleasure, Frank.
All right, man. Take care.
You too.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Timothy Alberino and you and I just hanging. Well, what'd you think? Now, I forgot to tell you all, there's only a half hour left in the show. But then again, there's plenty of time to do damage. I was going to give something away tonight. I was going to give away an ounce of silver. And I mean, I guess I can still do it, or I can save it for tomorrow when there's more time to, well, I'm just going to save it for tomorrow. I'm going to save that for tomorrow because I want to give you guys the full 2 hours to be able to, get in on it. And we're going to give away an ounce of silver. But also, hey, I just want to say something else there too. Holiday special on quitefrankly.gold. Tony Arterburn got in touch with me, said any purchase of precious metals, gold backs, Bitcoin, whatever the hell they're selling over there on quitefrankly.gold, until December 18th, anything that you buy, you're getting free junk silver. So that my quarters, dimes, whatever the hell it is, we picked the 18th because we believe that date would be a really safe date to guarantee delivery before Christmas. I'd say throw some Mercury head dimes into everybody's gift bags. It's a little bit easier, whatever. But you use promo code Frankly as many times as you want. It's not single use. And tomorrow we'll give away an ounce of silver. Tonight, I'll just read your super chats. Let me get to those super chats right now. Where we go? Hold on a second. Oh, here we go. All right. Let's see. First one up is on Quite Frankly Super Kevin Polina says, can I still can send a still shot at best, but the video shows hovering 50 feet above me. What are you talking about? What is Kevin Polina talking about? Let me see here. I have a 1-minute clip of what I believe is an ophonym. Ophonym? I don't know what that is. Filmed this July. Can I send it to get an opinion? Oh, please. Yeah, send it over to me. I'll have Timothy Alberino on again soon anyway, but I'd like to just see it. And I'll make sure I put it into my show notes for the next time he's on, and we'll watch it together. Frank at quitefrankly.tv. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin Polina. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Larry Whitaker says, Timothy, have you ever seen anything from another dimension, such as the demon I saw in India? L.A. Marzulli and I had a conversation about it, contending that it was a principality. Larry, that's who I was referring to you when I was talking to him about that. Now, I don't know if there is any kind of organization to the spirit world, and it's not just all chaos, and there are rules and there are functions for everything. It would make you think that the whole idea of there being some kind of geographical jurisdiction that is granted to one thing or another, or has been claimed by one thing or another. Now, my question is this: as we have gotten so better traveled, and now that we've been able to connect the entire world through various electromagnetic, digital, electrical means, with the internet and everything else, makes you just wonder how far outside of that jurisdiction people can go. I mean, what The Exorcist? Wasn't The Exorcist? I'm not going to say the demon's name, but it sounds like those creepy little dolls that you people give your children, the Labubu's. Sounds like that. I mean, that in the beginning of The Exorcist, that's one of those things that you almost get like it was uncovered with the statue at the dig, the archaeological dig in Egypt or wherever it was. Almost like it came back over, or there was a channel through the Ouija board that Reagan was playing with, or something like that. So I'd be interested to get a little bit more on what you guys think about the whole idea of geographical jurisdiction, and what's the point of geographical jurisdiction if you could just go anywhere and be anywhere? It's way above my pay grade. Genie Yankee fan, thank you so much. Good to have you out there. That's all on Twitch. It's great to have people hanging out on Twitch and sending bits as well. Let's see. Joe Martinez, thank you. Jay Britt says, meow. Great discussion with Timothy Alberino, as always, Frank. How dare you bring up the whole cat thing? In a time like this, in an economy like this. Mark Sterner says, hey, Frank, I can't watch tonight. I can't watch tonight live, but here's a contribution to the camera fund. Cheers. Well, thank you. I promise it's going to go to something very, very constructive. I do promise you that. I got a text message from Lauren not too long ago, and this is what I got. She said, Frank, before I forget, Aurora wants to meet you in Dreamland. Every night, Aurora leaves a message with Lauren telling me where. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to talk about this. Just so sweet. She wants to meet all the different places in Dreamland. She wants to meet up that night. And I go looking for her all the time. All I find is bullshit, though. I would love to meet up with Aurora and hang out. Anyway, I'm supposed to meet at Dreamland at the Fall Festival. The Fall Festival at the Bronx Zoo. So I can see all the animals together. And Barry is her teddy bear. Barry. He's coming in a top hat. But she called it a waiter's hat. A top hat and a cane, and he's going to do a dance like it's Young Frankenstein, I guess. I think she's seen Putting on the Ritz before, the scene from Young Frankenstein. She hasn't seen the rest of it, so she won't understand. She will one day, and she'll love it. What'd she say? Anyway, I don't know. I have to go to the Fall Festival in the Bronx Zoo tonight. She's never even been to the Bronx Zoo. And when it comes to the Fall Festival, it's probably just things that she's seen on Hallmark whenever we're watching Hallmark films on Sunday nights. And we went to a Fall Festival in Adirondacks too. Oh, the mind of a child. I'll tell you. Hope I can get through this thought too. I got a lot of things that keep me up at night. I tried talking to you about that last night, just didn't work out. Because I just always put too many things into a format and then 2 hours flies away and that's just the way it ends. But I think we all are on the same page with what keeps us up at night. We're thinking about how we're providing for our families and, you know, our young children becoming older and older quicker and going out into the world and what state of the world's going to be in, who's going to look after them, you know, is everything that you're preparing them for going to be enough, and then just praying to God for his protection all the other rest of the way, because you can be, as you can see, you can do everything right and just things can change in a flash and you don't know. Everybody's thinking about the same thing. And of course we have all the economic issues on top of us too. We're all thinking about the same thing. Well, there's another thing that keeps me up at night. I literally delay going to sleep because I feel like, I don't know, the longer I stay awake, the longer Aurora is that many days old. Like, you know, she goes to bed and I'm still awake. She's still the little girl she was that day. As soon as I go to sleep and wake up, she's another inch taller. Yeah. So those are the choices. Those are the choices I make. And it's not doing well for my complexion, I'll tell you that much. I must look very tired. But who knows? Who knows? I'll drink a little bit more. Oh, collagen? What do you do? You put collagen in things? Is that what everybody does? Okay. And that's what you have. All right, over on to Rumble. Let's see what you guys are saying. Okay, let's see. Grayson Pro says, what if it turns out space isn't fake, but definitely gay? It seems gay to me. I think a baseline space is gay. At the baseline. Not peak gay. We found peak gay a couple of years ago. You remember that? It was Amanda from Florida helped me find it. It was something that happened in Pennsylvania. I said, whoa, this is the gayest that it gets. What was it? Amanda from Florida, please get in touch with me. What was peak gay? That feels like 2021 at this point. Maybe even sooner. Awakened Boomer says, the more I listen to Timothy, the more I like the way of him seeing things. It's a lot more of a wonderful adventure, isn't it? Seems that way. Really is. Let's see what else we got going on over here. All right, so I'm gonna open up. Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna open up the lines. I got 20 minutes. I want to watch some reels with you. First, thank you to Paulie9363 on Pilled, Delona, Sean Joe, Iluna Moondrops. Says, hey, quite frankly. Let's see. I hate that I can't watch your show as much as I used to. I called in once and we talked about the names of my daughters. Lami and Araya. I stream now on Pilled, so I wanted to donate what I could and show you who Araya met last week. Who'd they meet? Well, I'll have to see. I don't know where that the answer to that is, but I can't wait to take a look at it. Zodiac is a map of principalities, says Paulie. And Delona says, moisturize, you'll be fine. Okay, good. I'll moisturize. All right, you guys ready? Of course, all the names for everybody tonight is going to be going into the raffle that we'll be doing this week. Maybe Saturday night with Sherry and Dave and Zoso Dude. Zoso Dude is calling in on Saturday night. We're going to be just talking movies and music and having some fun. It's going to be a great Saturday night special. So on Saturday night, I'll announce who is winning this wonderful spa kit that's worth well over $200. And I'm going to add the Quite Frankly Flip City magazine in there and a couple of other things. So it doesn't matter where you put in a super chat. I'm collecting all the names. I already have a good amount collected, and you'll be in the running. Here is a, let's see what we can get on these races first. November 4th, the races. Okay, nothing is being shown in New York City just yet, because I guess the polls don't close for another 20 minutes, and they don't do... Okay. Well, that's there's nothing there. New York. What about New Jersey? Anything? Oh no. Mickey Sherrill, 59.8% over 39.7% of Jack Citarelli. Well, that's what it is so far. There's only about 29% reporting. We'll see what the hell happens as the night goes on. Man, New Jersey is fighting for its life right now. And good for them, because it's on the verge of at least shifting some things in some significant, hopeful ways. But New Jersey's fighting for its life right now. You love to see it. You really love to see it. We'll take a look at that in a little bit. Let's just go to some reels, shall we? And I'll just check in on your super chats in a little bit, and we'll and I've got some other stuff for you guys after the show. On the flip side, I'm going to show you guys the music video of No Candy on Halloween. I showed you the behind the scenes, the making of that from years ago. I'm going to show you that, and I have a couple other things that are a little off color. So I'll just do that. I'll just do that after the show. Lauren just texted me. She said, "I'm happy to stick one of my youth rejuvenating face masks on you." Yeah, no, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. And in fact, I better start looking worse when I come on the show in the coming months and years. If people think that I'm actually maintaining, they're going to think now that I'm doing some stuff. He's got work done. Anybody ever says that? No, I think he got some work done. That would be terrible. That'd be awful. That'd be one of the worst rumors. I'll take all the Illuminati rumors. Please, I don't want to hear those rumors. He got work done. You can tell. Look at him around July of 2025, then look at him in 2027. Yeah, no, he's got that feline face now. He looks like trying to look like a Ken doll. It's all going wrong for him. Things are going wrong. Oh, hello to Instagram. This is the third night in a row that we're on there, and everything is seemingly nice. I hope you're doing well. All right, let's jump into the reels that I have put together and that others have sent me. This first one up is, what is this? This is Don't Hate the Player, Hate the Game. This is a guy in New York City. He's showing you how to get yourself off of a crowded subway car with ease, effectively. Here you go. Take note if you ever come to New York.
Excuse me, I'm pregnant and gay and black and Jewish and Muslim and Puerto Rican. Excuse me, I'm pregnant. Gaza.
Just remember that. Remember that the next time you have to get off a city bus, please.
Excuse me, I'm pregnant and gay and black and Jewish and Muslim and Puerto Rican. Excuse me, I'm pregnant.
I'm gay. I'm pregnant and gay. Help me. Oh man, I love that. Some people are great. The world is not hopeless. Always remember that. Always remember that. All right, this one is interesting. I grabbed this, and it's just, I don't know what other conclusion I can come to other than this used to be a proper country. Here we go. Special order, 1967 Ford Country Squire wagon. Listen to this. Listen to this service. Hold on. Of course.
How in the world did this rusty Ford wagon sell for $48,000? Part of it is because it was ordered with some really rare options that made it a true one of one. But the story about how the original owner was actually able to get those options ordered is what's even crazier. The first owner was a truck driver. He needed a station wagon for his family, but he wanted a big motor and a 4-speed. No way was he going to drive an automatic. Only problem was, the biggest motor, the 428, could only be ordered with a C6 automatic. But this guy insisted on having 3 pedals. Oh, and he wanted bucket seats, a center console, and AC also. So get this. The local Ford dealer said no dice, but he gave him the name of a Ford executive in Detroit who might be able to help him out. This executive was in charge of the Mustang program and understood the trend towards high performance. So the trucker sat down and wrote him a letter, and 3 weeks later he got a reply back. The letter read, "Thank you for your interest in our product. Would be happy to build you a special order wagon to fit your needs. Please present this letter at your local dealership and they will order it to your specifications. Signed, sincerely, Lee Iacocca."
That is an awesome. I mean, just can you imagine being able to sit down and write a letter to a car manufacturing CEO and get a response? Sure, we'll customize that for you. Lee Iacocca, whoever the hell you want to bring up. It's just the fact that that was possible at one time in this country. Jeez. Now you have Scott Adams, who's fighting for his life right now, wanting to get on to an experimental drug, some kind of a drug program or whatever the hell it was, and he needed to tweet out there. He had to flag the attention of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He had to get Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to push him along. This guy was able to just write a letter to Lee Iacocca and get himself a custom car. Okay, now this one. This is amazing. This is amazing. I already put my thoughts down on the comment section on this one. Okay. This is from some sort of a slow pitch softball league somewhere. It was posted a day ago. I don't know if it's just, the leaves on the trees look like they're turning. So wherever they are, it's probably just a fall ball game. But this guy, this catcher has a little bit of a crash out moment over here. And I think it's such a special moment caught on tape. Take a listen to this.
Right on the outside corner. Don't tell him not to swing.
Mark, how about you mind your P's and Q's and pitch?
Mark, whoever the hell Mark is, mind your P's and Q's. Wait, this is, you have to listen to it again. It's just amazing.
right on the outside corner. Don't tell him not to swing.
Mark, how about you mind your P's and Q's and pitch?
Let's keep it clean.
So he's having a problem. He's having a problem with his pitcher. Okay. And as I said in the comment over here, this is such a special moment caught on tape. It is very special. These are the kinds of little ridiculous, you had to be there moments that you remember when you play softball with the guys, but they're never caught on tape. This guy having a moment of frustration behind the plate, telling his pitcher, Mark, this is life. This is, you captured a little bit of small town life. That is more real than the election in New York City. Telling Mark to mind his P's and Q's and just pitch. I loved that video. So good for him. Stood up for himself. Speaking of New York City, this was posted, it seems to be, this was posted back on June 29th. And it just crossed my path now. It's Ryan Long talking to some Trump protesters in New York City. Wanted to know what they're willing to do to get rid of Trump. And of course, in Ryan Long fashion, it's a good one. Here you go.
Would you be willing to eat a log of your own shit if that would help get Trump out?
If I had to, I would. That's how much I hate the man. He's a narcissist.
How much shit would you be willing to eat to get rid of him? Like actual logs?
I'm not going to exaggerate, but I'll do within reason what I have to do.
So it'd have to be a reasonable amount of shit. Like if it was a full dump truck that's starting to get out of control.
No, I'm definitely not going to eat a whole dump truck, but I will do what I have to.
What if it was just like a smaller car, like an Aztec or something like that, and the trunk was just full of the shit?
I hate him, but I'm not going to do anything that's going to go against me either.
You'd be willing to eat maybe like a log or two, but you're not going to eat like a full dump truck worth to get rid of Trump for your country.
Eat a little bit, but that's about it. Just to show that I do not like the man.
What's the most you'd eat, like a bowl?
Maybe a bowl, yeah. That's being realistic.
I love. He got him to agree to eat a bowl. Oh my gosh. Oh man. It's good stuff. Good stuff. This is not good stuff on the other hand. What is this? This is a watch a Navy veteran cries as he says President Trump has taken away American freedom. I just can't get over it. Ugh.
I'm not the only one. 20 years in the Navy. I never saw a CC today. I fought for freedom. For somebody like Trump to come and take it away.
What the fuck are you talking about? God, they're fucking insufferable. I don't give a shit. You're a veteran. You're stupid. You're a dumbass. I fought for your freedom. Well, you lost. You lost the fight. You lost the fight. What do you want me to say? This is so ridiculous. I don't even want to watch the rest of this. Poor suffering man. Now, who the hell is this? This was sent my way. What is she on? The caption is. I can only imagine. Let's see. Let us see here.
To everyone in this room currently affected by the Trump administration, listen to me now. Do not give up. Do not stop fighting. Fight for you. Fight for your family. Fight for everyone you know. Because this country is headed towards a second fucking Holocaust.
Right. Bow.
What?
To everyone in this room currently affected by the Trump administration, listen to me now. Do not give up. Do not
Oh, like what movie did she just watch before she saw this? Affected by the Trump. Do not give up. We're heading for a second fucking Holocaust. There's been a lot of Holocausts. There's been quite a few. You know, the Jewish Holocaust wasn't actually even the biggest one that happened during World War II. Not nearly the biggest. It's the only one you hear about. But what is she talking about? She can't even fight her midnight cravings, this one over here, this roly-poly. She's going to prevent a Holocaust? What the hell? What movies are everybody watching? What movies are everybody watching these days that they think that there's some... I mean, telling you, the main character, I stormed out of that gym. I did it. Come on, follow me. Anyway, let's see. Okay. Here's another one for you. Oh, okay, this is funny. So this pitcher from Japan. Listen, I can't stand the Dodgers. But thankfully everybody is not talking about how the Yankees spend money anymore. But the Dodgers, they got this guy Yamamoto, who I wish that we had a chance of getting him, but he's just going to join all of his Japanese friends on the Dodgers now, which is essentially just a Japanese national team. And he's an animal. He's like 5'10", but he's just mechanically so sound. And he made himself into a legend this World Series. He's got like 3 wins in a 7-game series. Came in and it's just incredible what he did. But anyway, they got him on a this is a post-game show after the win. And here he is speaking about his great accomplishment. He didn't even need an interpreter this time. Take a listen to this.
Got this saying back in Japan that when your fucking balls are on the line, you do whatever the hell it takes to win. And back in the 40s, if Emperor Hirohito asked you to strap into a fucking Zero plane with an explosive duct taped to your nutsack, you yell Banzai. You do what the hell you're told. And you fly that sucker right into the enemy battleship. We play for honor, and we fight to the death.
There you go. One of the comments says, you can tell by his accent that he's from southern Japan. Yes, he's the legend only grows. Now, I don't know what the hell's going on with this. There's a confrontation over here between this girl, and she's getting into this is what I've been sent. She's getting into a fight with an older man. I don't know what the hell she's dressed as. Let's take a listen to it. Here we go.
I've never seen anything so disgusting in my life.
Disgusting?
Disgusting.
It's Sexy Patrick.
No, you're disgusting. You're like a pig. Look at you.
You know what? You can play that game.
See me? I'm 70 years old and I'm in shape. You see me? This is what it looks like to be in shape.
Wait a second. How did this start? How did this start? I need to know now. This face-off. He's got the demeanor of like an angry raccoon. And she...
Okay, but you probably didn't have a childhood like I did, sir.
She went back to her childhood. That's just ready to be doled out there. Oh, boy.
You're disgusting.
Not good.
You're disgusting.
Okay, here I am, disgusting. Don't come over near me and act like nothing's going on.
I wasn't harming you, though. I didn't say anything to you. You talked to me first by calling me disgusting. What makes me disgusting?
Look how fat you are.
Look how fat you are.
I'm in great shape.
Oh, my goodness. People love my body.
No, they don't.
Yeah, well, he's right about that. What the hell is this? This is like a weird video game. Like you're walking around in a video game and you overhear like a crazy NPC argument. Oh man, that was really bizarre. Okay, well, let's keep going. What's this? One of the saddest things about being an adult is forgetting what you ordered on Amazon and excitedly opening up a 2-pack of air filters, you know? Yeah. I know. I actually know this well. It's that really sucks. What is this? Turning 18 in the Charlie Brown universe.
Birthday, bro. Hey, yes, sir. Thank you, bro. Now, how old you turning? Bro, I'm turning 18, bro. What? Yeah, I know, bro. I know. You know what that means, right? I don't know what's gonna kick in, though. Oh. Bro, I don't know if I can take it, bro. I mean, it could be at any second, you know what I mean? Oh, no, it's already begun. Bro, I can't understand you. Hey, happy birthday.
Oh, that's just perfect. That's great. That's good. He became an adult, and now he's just talking through the muted trumpet. What's this one? Oh, this one I saw myself. Another year, and it's still his favorite American holiday. Take a look at this. This here's like an immigrant from, I forgot where he's from, but he really loves handing out candy. Maybe he's, I don't know, he kind of sounds Mediterranean. This one I definitely saw myself. Here we go. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah. Having that perspective, especially the Cuban perspective, and you just got that gratitude that so many people who were born here, who've been here for a couple of generations now, are just so comfortable just throwing away. They just don't know. They were made ignorant. They are made stupid, and they're happy in their ignorance. That's crazy stuff. Okay, what's the? I got two more things here. What's? This was sent to me by a friend of mine, so I know it's not going to be good. I know it's. I'm actually really afraid to press play on this. More empathy lattes. So it must be an AI movie trailer or something like that. It says who directed this movie. And I'm afraid to press play, but here we go. It looks like there's some black people protesting, and all right, we're just jumping in head first.
Since they finna take away our food, we need to take back what's ours. They wanted us hungry. They forgot who we are.
Shaniqua's Loot in theaters this spring.
Since they finna take away.
Hold on, I'm gonna watch it one more time.
Our food, we need to take back what's ours. They wanted us hungry. They forgot who we are.
Shaniqua's Loot in theaters this spring.
My heart's gonna explode. Oh man, it was a moment for the culture. Okay, I also had somebody else write into me and said, Frank, it's been a couple of weeks, can you try to do the Arby's audio challenge again? So I couldn't find the original thing. So I went and I found the original audio of it. Like the actual reel that I watched, I couldn't find that, but I found the audio. So if you laugh, you lose, I guess. It's not going to work. I'm not going to be able to get through this. Time doesn't heal this wound. We're going to do this and we're off. On the flip side, I have something else for you. Here we go. Arby's.
Oh. Arby's. Two of those things for just chicken. Oh. Arby's. We have the chicken.
What the fuck was that? Oh. Those are the fucking sounds that we used to do like in the back of the classroom in high school. Some fucking chimeric sound. It kind of looks like it's like half human, half barn animal. And we get full class detentions. because nobody would admit who did it, and they hold the whole class behind.
Those things for just chicken. Arby's. We have the chicken. It's surreal. Arby's is really starting to second guess its Pepsi. Beef. Pepsi. 2 of those things for just $6. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Arby's. We have.
Okay, that's it for tonight. I thank you all so much for the time, and listen, if there was anything tonight that you liked, that you thought was interesting, that was funny, make a clip of it, share it. God knows what pops off, and become a sponsor of the show if you can. Go to quitefrankly.tv / there's the sponsor section. There's links in the description below on Patreon, whatever else. It'd be wonderful to have you as a sponsor. The show really needs your help. And yeah, even as a business too, if you have a mid-sized business or something like that, give me a buzz. We have some stuff that we're going to be doing that'll be fun. I'd love to bring on some American-made businesses, see who's out there and who's doing what. That's fantastic stuff to me. And we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Jay Gulanello will be in the studio, right? I think it's Jay Gulanello in the studio tomorrow night, and we're also going to be getting a tour of a very special place over Zoom with another caller that is going to be calling another guest. So it'll be a great night tomorrow, and let me just make sure I got everything right. Let's see here. Kevin Polinas has just sent the clip. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Over on Rumble, I think we're all caught up over there. Yes, indeed. And I'll get to the rest of the gold pills on the flip side. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Of course. You son of a bee.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Well, thank you, everybody, so much for everything. I'm going to put the link to the flip side in the chat rooms right now. Come by for some bonus time until the lights literally go out on us. You've been wonderful, and if you love the show as much as I love it, if the show is there for you on a nightly basis and is never leaving your side, please become a sponsor. If you can't handle that right now, then please make sure you like, you share, and you comment after the fact. It's the greatest thing you can do for me. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.